Hi everyone and welcome to Beyond the Veil. I'm Steve and I'm here joined with my friends
Juan.
Scott.
Danny.
Raphael.
All right. And tonight we thought we would talk a little bit about reincarnation, and it's kind of like funny how the topic came up. Some of you guys know that I have an Instagram page, and when I'm at work, there's actually a cat who decided to make my job her home. And I joke around a lot that because it's like I'm here at work, I'm like working hard, I'm like sweating, I'm going crazy. I look over and I see the cat like just laying there, like out of it. Or sometimes she's got her like palm, like she's like upside down, like floating in space almost. And it's like, man, like wouldn't it be great, you know? And I made a joke. I said like on Instagram, I said, you know, I wish I could die and come back as a cat, you know. And a lot of people like are always saying like, oh, what's work cat up to? You know, and it's funny, you know, we joke about it, but, you know, in Spiritism, there's actually questions and answers in the Spirits book dealing with that exact topic, you know. So it's like it used to be fun to joke about it. Now it's like just too serious. Like, oh, you can't joke around with Spiritists about dying and coming back as a cat, you know. It's like, they're like, no, it doesn't work, you know. So I thought it'd be fun, just a fun way to sort of kick off the topic tonight, you know, to talk. What do you guys think? If you could die, what would you like to come back as? No, I'm just kidding.
I'd like to come back as Steve.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, they broke the mold when they made me. That's funny, you know. I mean, I could get kind of deep and say like, for a long time in my life, I really wanted to be like somebody else, you know. So maybe that's where that idea kind of comes from. It's just like not being happy like in my own skin. That'd be a pretty deep, like a deep topic.
Yeah, I don't know about the cat or any other animal, but I think there's something interesting in that question on what would I like to come as, because in a way, part of what I'm doing here is preparing for that future. So, you know, whether it is because I'm studying something or because I'm dedicating time to learning something, maybe it may seem a hobby to me now. So I may be learning, I don't know, about space. Say something I'm passionate about, space. So I may want to come back as a space explorer or as a someone who goes to Mars and, you know, starts living there. I don't know. But in any case, the point that I wanted to make is that whatever I'm doing now, at least part of it, I can think as preparation for, you know, for that next time. In that sense, in the sense that I can learn. I've known people who, you know, they may be 80, 90, and they are going to university. Maybe they are starting a degree, and some people look at them and say, "But what is this? You know." I mean, maybe they won't say it, but they think like, "What a waste of time, right? This person is 90."
I did that before. I had a friend who I don't really know. He might have been about 45 or 50 or so when he died, and he had just graduated from college. And it was a big deal because like he was somebody that like for him like going to college was a lot of work. You know, I don't want to say especially at his age, but you know, it had been a long time since he had been in high school and he wanted to go back. It was like something, a lifelong dream of his. He went back and he did it, and then you know, not too much longer later he ended up like getting pneumonia or something and dying, and it was like really sort of unexpected. For a lot of us. We had a big group of friends, and that was my first thought, was like, man, he wasted all that time in college. You know, I'm like, yeah, he could have been doing like all kinds of other things, like having a good time, enjoying life, you know. And that was my perspective, was like looking at life from the material side is like that we're here to enjoy it and live it up and you know, have these experiences, and thinking like that was like a waste of time for my friend. But you know, now it's like I look at it differently. I'm like, you know, now I'm like, okay, he has that knowledge, he has that preparation, he can carry that over. And for him, like for him too, it's probably not like the actual education that really mattered to him. It was the accomplishment of like doing something hard. You know, like anything that's worth doing is not going to be something easy, because everybody can do easy stuff. But if you do something that's hard, you know, then
It's worth.
then that's the accomplishment.
Yeah.
You know, I think that, you know, this conversation is very open and broad. You can go in so many different directions when it comes to reincarnation. And one of the basics or one of the values of Spiritism is reincarnation. Me personally, I was raised as a Roman Catholic my whole life. I've gone to Catholic school, and I was taught that. And in Catholicism, you don't believe in reincarnation. You believe in heaven, a hell, and a purgatory even. It's my belief, and it changed after a near-death experience. I had brain surgery in 2009. So, as I spoke before in a couple episodes, I was given a book, Many Lies, Many Masters by Brian Weiss. That kind of opened my eyes. And then I read No Solar, The Astral City, and that opened my eyes even more. So I tell you one thing, I believe in progress. I think personally that purgatory is the world that we live in now. Whether you make a decision that's good or bad affects your next life. And I didn't think of that before. I think we're being judged by a higher power, whether it be energy, whether it be Jesus, whether it be Mother, Father, God. But what we do in this world now, in my personal belief, is what will let us progress or degress in our next life. So that accomplishment that that gentleman made at 45 is a huge accomplishment. So for him, he progressed just a little bit, and that's just an example of how he progressed. Maybe in his past life, he was a guy that was uneducated, and his mission in this life was to graduate at 45. So that's a huge thing. You know, when it comes to reincarnation, maybe it's not really big things that will advance you. Maybe it's a combination of little things that'll make you progress or degress. I don't know. I'll find out.
Interesting about planning, because you do plan your reincarnation. Maybe we can get into that a little bit later, and who you could be. You know, ultimately, we talked before that the focus on things in a material world tend to be a little bit different than in a non-material world, right? So, you know, wealth and prestige in the material world is what might be a focus, where in spirit world it's humility, right? Selflessness, right? And work for the greater good. And so, and those are the things that are regarded as prestigious. But it's interesting, you know, as we think about returning. So in the spirit world, the preparation, who we could be, would probably a good guess or a good esteem or something to aspire to would be a better you. Whatever it is you want to do, like we were talking, I want to go explore space. It can be maybe whatever it is you want to do. You know, given that your intellect is at a certain level to help you understand that research, right, or that study when you come back. Because everybody's at a different level of intellectual development, and specifically when we're talking about what we should be focused on is our moral development. And so I think the sky's the limit. We can be anything we want to. But again, taking the difference between a material world and the other world, the invisible world or spirit world, the value system is completely different. And so if we were asking this question on the other side, you know, the answer might be the best I could be, right? And you know, it doesn't matter if I'm exploring, you know, astrology or medicine or, you know, designing roads. You know, the fact that you have the ability to do that, you're here not for the roads. You're here to evolve yourself. And that's the part that is really the core of why we're here and what we're talking about.
You know, before I found Spiritism, like somebody started talking about reincarnation to me, and I was like, honestly, I'm not sure if I believe in that. I just didn't really have evidence like for or against it at the time. It's like, I don't know. But when I started reading the Spirits book, and you know, starting from the introduction to the Spirits book and like just going through, it's like it's all sort of part of like a system. It's like the piece of the puzzle, and it's like each part of it like just makes sense. It's like just too like rational, and it really is like comforting to know, because reincarnation is really like sort of the answer to a lot of things on this planet we don't understand, like social injustice. You know, why are some people like so wealthy and some people are in such poverty? And if you think that like that you just have one lifetime, then it like seems like you wouldn't be able to like appreciate that like there would be a God that would allow this. You know, it just seems like unfair. But when you go like, okay, like, you know, in one lifetime we might be in poverty, so we like learn the value of our friendships, and we learn the value of our people and love and the things that really matter. In another lifetime we might have wealth, and we have to learn the value of sharing. And it's a test, because some people don't pass it. Most people don't pass the trial of wealth. I believe it actually says that in the Spirits book somewhere, you know. And it's a hot topic, but it's like once you sort of put like the reincarnation in the equation, it definitely changes like your perspective about like, why are we here? You know, what are we doing here on this planet? Like in this lifetime, in these bodies, you know, and it changes like your goals. Like, you know, if your goal was to like have the money and have the house and the you know the trophy marriage and everything like that, and now it's like, okay, like one day like you'll have to give all that stuff up. The only thing you're going to be able to take with you is like the things that are on the inside, like the patience and the peace and the, you know, all the virtues that we can that we can work on in this lifetime. Changes like the perspective. Definitely.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that bothered me about, you know, different teachings that you learn through life is that for me it's a very selfish way of thinking that, you know, you're only going to live one life, and you're okay with that. And usually people who don't really question that are people who are usually in good situations. Like if you have money, or if you're, you know, if you're popular, you don't really question the fact of things like injustice and, you know, things that are unfair about, you know, poverty and stuff like that. And people who are less well off, they're the ones who are kind of questioning those things, saying, is this really, you know, the only chance that I get? Did I really get put in this position, you know, with all these hardships, and this is like my life, and when I die, that's the end. So to me, that was one of the things that bothered me the most. Is it's really I think it's a selfish kind of way of living, not really putting into, you know, perspective, you know, everyone's outcome in the end. But I see a lot of connections with reincarnation and just nature and you know, looking at, for example, a forest. How did that forest get there? A lot of times it would just be barren land. So it has to go from just rocks and just barren land transformed into a forest. And you ask yourself, well, what's the process for that? Well, little organisms like lichens and bacteria attach themselves to the rock, and they begin to take in air and, you know, water from the atmosphere, and then through their, you know, biological processes, they start to break down the rock slowly. And then when that happens, little plants can start to grow among the rocks. And then those little tiny plants with their roots start to break up the rock even more. And then even bigger plants can start to grow there. And eventually you see a whole transformation of what was once a barren landscape into a forest. And this is kind of the same thing that happens, you know, with all organisms, and especially with humans. You know, we're always going through an evolution. We're always going through a growth. And you have to rely on the other organisms in your environment to achieve that growth. So it shows how everything is connected and how we support each other and how much fraternity is so important.
I wish you had one of those big like poster pads now. You could just write down like about this thing about the plants and the animals and stuff, so you could give us a visual of it, because it's like...
He does have a poster board at home, actually. This is a fact.
Like one of those giant ones on the easel, like all those like life coach people are always breaking out the big pad and like...
He has a couple of them. Manny has a couple of them. I've seen it.
I'll bring some props.
And there's also, talking about nature and the earth and so on, I think reincarnation also gives us another perspective, and because sometimes we say, okay, we have to take care of the earth because we have to leave it to our children and so on, you know, that thing about leave this place in better condition that we found it and so on. But the thing is, we are leaving this place to ourselves if we think about it. So what I'm doing with the planet, what I'm doing with the environment, what I'm doing with the life conditions, and as you say, all the organisms are linked together. We are linked to every living being in the planet. What I'm doing now, it's going to have an effect. If I don't want to think about our children and our children's children, it's going to have an effect on me because I'm coming back. So it's really, even from a very selfish perspective, what is the planet that I'm living to myself?
Yeah, it's a very again, it's very selfish because people, they think they have one life, and then we trash the planet, and it's like, well, we're gonna die anyway, so why take care of the planet? And I mean, this is what you see. You see pollution. You see rivers completely unusable, or drinking water gets polluted. The oceans.
Meth gators. That's the big thing now. Meth gators.
Meth gators. I don't know
Yeah,
what that
they're
is.
dumping meth in the toilet, and the alligators are eating it. I don't know if it's Louisiana, Alabama, some place like that. And now we have gators that are hooked on meth.
Wow, yeah, it doesn't surprise me. In London, I heard recently that they did some studies on the organisms in the water there, and they found like drugs, like illegal drugs in the organisms in the water, because there's just so much pollution and I guess drug use too. But yeah, it really is sad that we should. It's sad that we don't think of ourselves as of having more responsibility, especially towards our planet that we're that gave us life. It's to me it's.
And it's a sense of responsibility that we have to take care of each other and about living the best we can in this life, taking care of nature, practicing charity. It all connects, and to me that's fascinating. And that's also fascinating to me is that there's options when you come back in this life from reading. You can even come back in different planets. Whether you believe that or not, it's something to think about. So we're in this planet for a reason. We were brought back to Mother Earth for a reason. Maybe that reason is to learn about nature. I don't know. But maybe, depending on how we live this life and taking care of this planet, will give us the honor and the respect and earn
Opportunity.
to opportunity to be in another planet. Just because, and this is a theory in Spiritism, and this is a theory of reincarnation, that there are certain spirits in other planets, and that Jesus Christ is in charge of different planets and different atmospheres. And we have to earn the right to get there. A planet like Jupiter, where it seems like there's no to little life, maybe different spirits live there, and energy lives there. We just cannot see it because we're not ready for that yet. And we have to earn that ability to be able to be developed and to progress into another realm, maybe.
Absolutely. No, that's absolutely right. So, a couple things. So again, as we evolve, well, we have an affinity where we have an affinity, right? We gravitate to what we gravitate to. So like is like, right? You're not going to be able to go to a place that's not like you because you won't fit, right? So just think of it that way. So we're here purposely because this is where we fit. It's where I fit. It's where you fit. It's where we all fit. Of course, we do see some incarnations that are planned missions, and sort of elevated souls that come to the planet to help continue to teach. Mother Teresa, Socrates, Plato, Jesus Christ. Because we need a leg up. We need help, right? So you see those people are incarnated for a mission, right? Their purpose is to spread that word, and help lift us up. But again, I like the part where you talked about nature, taking care of nature, and taking care of each other, because that is a duty. So a duty of us is to take care of each other, is to listen to Jesus Christ, love one another, take care of one another, right? Treat your neighbor as you would yourself. That's what it means. So let's keep doing that. Well, we can look through time, go back to Middle Ages, not so much, a little bit further along, a little bit more, look to today, a little bit more. So we continue to progress. We may be slow to progress, but we are progressing. That's the good news. But again, we have a duty, not just to ourselves, which is we're the only one that we can change and evolve, but knowing, if everybody knew what we knew today, that if I can help you in some way, then it helps me. As soon as we figure that out across the globe, we're done. The whole planet can
help
rise
me
up.
help you.
The Jerry Maguire all the way in. So, so that's important in itself. But then, and to spin off of part of what, or trailing off of what you were saying, yes, we continue to evolve and purify ourselves. We won't fit here anymore. But maybe you want to stick around for a little bit and help those brothers and sisters that you live with so long to raise up before you take off to Venus or Jupiter or wherever you might get elected to go.
Nah, I'd rather go to Jupiter, actually.
So, so think about that. You know, we all need help.
Are there work cats in
you don't have to
Jupiter?
run away so quickly. Maybe you have a job coming.
And it's like, because I wanted to, look, we were talking about like, oh, what are we going to talk tonight? I said, like, let's talk about reincarnation and the law of progress, because like, it's hard to talk about reincarnation without talking about progress. We've been doing it anyway. I was thinking, like, if the leaders of our house here, the Broward Spirit Society, were in here right now, they'd probably be opening the Spirits book and trying to like say like, we need to like explain what the law of progress is and what reincarnation is. But really, like, my intention for the focus of this group is to really talk about like what Spiritism means to us in our daily lives and how we take it and apply it, like when we're out at work or with our friends or, you know, with our families, you know, and so that's why I don't want to sit here and open the Spirits book and like really like explain everything. But I would recommend, like, the people watching on YouTube or Facebook or wherever you're watching from, like, check out the Spirits book, because there's a whole like chapter about reincarnation in there, about the law of progress, and the basic, like, the gist of it is that, like, you know, is that we're always going to be like moving forward. We're not going to move backwards.
Evolve.
Right? So we're always going forward. But the rate at which you move forward is up to you. Like, how much effort, how much work do you want to put into it? How much do you really want to progress? Because there's certain, like, people, like, you know, we're not here to talk about who's good and who's bad, but and I can say for my life, like, I went through a period of time where I was like rebellious and I was like not progressing, you know, and I reaped you know, the rewards. I reaped the lessons of being rebellious, you know, against like just the natural laws, just against, like, you know, being selfish, being self-centered, being like materialistic, and thinking that like that there was no, you know, no like cause and effect, no law of you know, like what goes around comes around, like thinking that like that wasn't going to affect me. You know, and then I reaped the lesson from that, and, you know, that's why I'm here today, and I'm stuck here, you know, making podcasts, you know, at 10 o'clock at night on a school night, you know. But I mean, you guys are here too, so you must be, you know, you must have some affinity.
Maybe we were scheduled to come back together because we made some mistakes in the past, so they put us together for a cause of good.
But
I think you're right, because this has a direct. I can apply directly this into my day-to-day life. And I think if there's a single thing that has the most effect on me changing, on me being a different person than what I was maybe 10 or 20 years ago, that single thing is grasping the idea of being an immortal spirit and reincarnation and how it all works. And I think that's single-handedly changed me the most, because I was looking at a period of 60, 80, you know, luckily maybe 90 years, whatever it was, and I had to make sense of that, and the way I reacted to whatever happened to me, maybe something harmful happened, or I was hurt, or things were not going the way I thought they should go. If you look at life with that perspective of just a few years, then things get magnified and things look, you know, so daunting sometimes and so hard. And when you look at it from the perspective of being an immortal spirit and having that path to just as you say, keep on progressing, keep on developing. And when you look at it from the point of view of having multiple opportunities to come back and work on all those things that we have to develop, well, then the problems and things that come to me, I react very differently to them, and I don't take them so hard or seriously, or whatever it is. So it really helps to take some of the pressure or even the attention from things that are, at the end of the day, are not so important, and that will prevent me from working in other things that are really important, and looking to myself and feeling better and having more energy to do the day-to-day things, and just simply knowing about the immortality of the soul. It just gives me that. So to me, it is crucial.
Yeah, and I don't know for sure on time, but when you said the law of progress, that made me think of something else. And if you look at nature again, you don't see organisms going backwards ever. They're always evolving forward. Like the next, whenever organisms reproduce, they're always better when they're born. I mean, of course, you have situations where you might have like a mutation or some kind of irregularity, and the organism is not able to live correctly. But
I've met a few of them in my job.
yeah, but I mean,
Luckily, they probably won't be reproducing. So.
but it makes so much sense, because you don't ever see organisms going backwards. Organisms are always evolving forward and becoming better and becoming stronger. That's why we have bacteria now that we can't kill with conventional antibiotics, because they're just they're finding a way to move forward and survive, which is what we're trying to do. We're just trying to get better and survive and learn the next lesson.
I think that's a good lead into what you come back with, what you leave with, and what you come back with. So let's, as part of a transition, leaving the material world to the spirit world, once you've finished crossing over, still you there, okay? Still you. Whoever you are, whatever you've collected morally and intellectually, it's still you, okay? So whenever you get through the transitions and you end up somewhere in a society and you're working and so forth, you learn this, right? Or you're reminded of this, and now you're working and you're studying and you're part of a community. Again, you're preparing to come back. So again, when you're coming back, you actually have advanced since the last time you were incarnated. Because if you look at what's happening here on the planet, so there's 7 people on the planet. There's 23 billion around. Okay, so that's about a 3 to 1, we'll say. So spirits discarnated. So that's about a 3 to 1. That means 3 lifetimes before you get to cycle back in. And let's call it 300 years just for fun to make an easy number. So my real home is not in this material world, and I get to spend 300 years studying, preparing, and working before I come back. So when I've left here, I get to take everything with me. So my wallet, what's my wallet? My heart, my spiritual wallet. So you can check in and go, hey, let me see your bank.
I'm spiritually,
it's how well you did for yourself and for
bankrupt,
others.
right?
So it's your spiritual bank, and that's where you're graded. And then, okay, you got to go door number 2, or door number 3, whatever those are. But the point is, so then you get a chance to continue to work, continue to study, continue to evolve. Again, then when you come back, you've already elevated yourself in another world, in the spirit world, coming to return to a world that you hope you left in a decent state to propagate some of your own efforts for well-being and good and moral values. You left behind with your own, family or friends and communities, if you will, potentially even nations, if you had that opportunity to impact nations. So again, it never ends. So you are one of those properties. You are one of those elements in biology, and organisms, as you mentioned, is a conscious being now that continues to evolve in a very, very dramatic way, which has a very dramatic impact on others and the planet. So do well. Do yourself well.
There's one thing I just wanted to mention in regards to the law of progress is that Antonio Ferreira was here one time giving a lecture talking about something, and he mentioned about the law of progress is that to us sometimes it might not look like everybody's always moving forward. Sometimes it looks like we take a step backwards. But when we're talking about progress, what we're actually talking about is morally, like as spirits, like as our souls, like what we take with us. It has nothing to do with our social status. So we always hear stories of people going from rags to riches, back to rags. It has nothing to do with with material things, you know. So, and that's why there's stories of you know, there's some of the literature talks about. I think it was in Emmanuel talks about like being a proud senator back in the Roman days, reincarnating again later as a slave because he was so proud he had to spend the time, you know, he had to spend the next lifetime as a slave. It's like, well, where's the progress in that? Like, well, the progress is that he got the lesson that he was looking for, and the progress is morally and with our spirits. So, just a little like, I'm gonna throw that.
Drive
in
it
there.
home, right on.
Yeah. So it was a good talk. Thank you so much, Juan, Scott, Manny, Raphael. Every time I do that, I have to remember your names again. It's like tough. But eventually, I'll learn them.
Fair enough.
And,
You love learning, you will.
I'll make it
It's working
progress.
for you.
Right. So thank you guys for watching. Make sure to check us out on Discover Spiritism Network on YouTube. We're really trying to spread the word about Discover Spiritism Network. There's a lot of different spiritist centers around the United States and different places, even in Europe that I know of, and some in Brazil, contributing to this network, this effort, this collaboration that we're trying to, you know, reach across borders and trying to spread the word of Spiritism. So if you can, please subscribe, share the video with your friends if you like it, and leave us comments. We're all reachable. You can reach us actually through, if you leave comments on YouTube, we'll see them, and you might actually be able to impact whatever content comes out of our next episode. So, so get in touch with us, and
Chime in.
so thanks again for watching. Thank you guys, and we'll be back next week with more Discovering Spiritism on Beyond the Veil.